Update. My husband beat cancer and now is giving up on our relationship. He's also abusing me financially. Original post. It's been 6 months since my 21 female husband 21 male had a stem cell transplant. This was in conjunction with chemotherapy to help improve his quality of life if the chemo worked as a treatment. He had metastatic brain cancer in his bones, and his chances weren't good. He still has to worry about the cancer coming back in the future, but the treatment did work, and now he's back to normal life. Except nothing has been normal. He's been depressed ever since he got home from the transplant. I've tried talking to him about it and showing my support. I talked to his family, basically just telling them he's feeling burned out and asking if they could reach out more. I've tried to handle a lot of my own struggles on my own. I have clinical depression, and now I'm recovering from pushing that aside to be his caregiver for 2 years. I'm in counseling and I still work full-time. This past week he told me he's been thinking about it for a few weeks, and he doesn't think he can do this anymore. This being our marriage. He says I always take my anger out on him, and the past year has been all about me. I took a few deep breaths and then told him that's hard to believe, since in the past year all I've done is work and use all my vacation days on being there for his treatments. This summer, we used all of our extra money on him getting his dream motorcycle and all the accessories to go with it. We had planned on me getting one too, but it ended up being too expensive, so we agreed on him doing the motorcycle course and getting a bike himself. I've been focused on my therapy and healing. I've been going to work every day. I also got basically ghosted by my bestie after she got married this summer. I've had repressed memories and childhood traumas come up in the last month that I've been working through basically on my own. My husband knows this, but we've had a total of 2 conversations about it. And when I try to bring it up, he makes the conversation about something unrelated. I said I wanted to go to marriage counseling, since he's been refusing to see his own therapist or counselor for the last 3 years. He finally got himself a counselor instead, and I feel like it's too late for that. After he told me this week he thought our relationship was over, I snapped. I told him if he was giving up, then I wasn't going to shut up about the pain I'm dealing with anymore. I'm always forced to be quiet, to listen to him talk about what he's going through, and I've done it happily for our entire marriage. And to hear him say those things felt like the ultimate betrayal. Now he wants to take it back. He says I never should have said that he wants me to give him time to work with his counselor and heal. But I still think the problem isn't addressed. He thinks the last year had been about me, when our entire marriage has been about him. And he never acknowledged that. He refuses to talk about his treatment and things we were together for, but he makes jokes about his own funeral, even though it makes me cry. Does anyone have advice? Or questions are welcome. I think he's given up, and now that he's verbalized it, part of me just wants to be done. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Be done. Cancer doesn't make people saints. Sounds like he's pretty self-centered and wants to make you the bad guy. Maybe because he is unconsciously upset that you are starting to focus on yourself rather than him 110%. I really didn't want to believe this, but the longer I hold out, the more I see him treating me this way. Remission in a lot of ways is harder than treatment. The PTSD coupled with fear of relapse can break a person. That doesn't even start with the people that abandon you along the way. You're right. Cancer doesn't make people saint, but treatment and recovery doesn't end the same day as chemo. Think about this for a minute. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life with this person? I don't, but I really thought I would. It's okay to be done. You're 21. You have your whole life ahead of you. Yes, brain cancer at such a young age sucks. You were a good wife to him by doing everything you could to take care of him. Don't let him lie to you and tell you it was all about you. He's obviously struggling, but instead of turning toward you and you two working together against the problem, he's taking all his anger out on you. And that's not okay. That's abusive, actually. Never date someone that makes you put all of your own self-care aside indefinitely. You're starting to realize now that your wants, needs, and feelings matter, and that's good. I'm glad you're in therapy and working through your trauma. You found your voice. Don't let an immature, selfish jerk take that away from you. You've always had to do everything by yourself, which isn't right. You deserve to date someone who would do the same for you, instead of just take while you give. You deserve self-care and healing. You deserve an equal partner. There is no shame in being divorced at 21. You're still young. You have your whole life ahead of you. So go forth without guilt and maybe avoid getting into another relationship until you have addressed your trauma. You'll find that what you're looking for will change once you have started to heal. Trust me on that. Thank you so much for this. It's been a few weeks now, and I'm starting to think that you're right. But I'm kind of ashamed of getting divorced, and I'm scared of hurting him or regretting it in the future. The more I go over it, the more I think I know what I want to do, but I don't feel strong enough to go through with that at this point. Now for the first update. Here's the skinny. My 21 female husband, 21 male had 2 years of intense treatment for cancer. He went into remission after a stem cell transplant this past spring. Ever since, he's been negligent of my feelings in our relationship. He rarely wants to do anything I want to do, and there's always a reason why we can't at a time, but he'll never consider it again after he said no. And this is about stupid things like going to the zoo or out late on a weeknight. He won't spend any extra money on me, even to get a lamp to go over my vanity, or new clothes when I've hardly shopped since we got married. I make my own money, but he does all the budgets. When he was in treatment, we developed a system where I'd send him what he needed to pay the bills. He'd send my money back to me if there was an extra. When we moved in the spring, our rent went up, so he said we had to cut our spending money. He told me to just keep $100 every month and send him the rest. I don't. I always say there's a few extra things I need to keep money for and hang on to a bit, but I still end up with very little in my account. And I always told him that I wasn't okay with doing that for more than a month or two, while we figured out our finances. I'm not comfortable just sending all my money to him to handle. But ever since, it's been reason after reason why we haven't been able to merge our accounts. He said a few times that he understands why I want a joint account, but he doesn't see the difference since he's my husband and I can trust him with. He knows my parents are really bad with money, and they never taught me to manage money. Sometimes he hints at that when I talk about wanting to share in our finances. But I had more savings than my husband ever did. I owned my own car before I even had one, and then his dad paid for half of it. I paid for our wedding. It was small, but still nice and cost about $8,000. While we were engaged, he bought a pickup that died before our wedding. He spent his savings paying the rest of the loan on it, about $10,000. I paid first and last in our apartment and covered rent while he couldn't find a job. This is after I got him a job at a pizzeria I'd been at for 6 months. He got us both fired. He always says they were shady anyways, which is true, but not the point. After my original post, I told him I want to set up a mutual fund, so we can at least have our cash and bills coming from the same place. He just asked me to move the appointment with the bank, then a few minutes later came out with a plan he and his brother made for us to get a joint checking account. I said that's not a mutual fund. I don't want to do what we already planned. At this point, the red flags are off the map. We've talked, he explains, but things never get better for me. I can't focus on myself at all because I'm basically babysitting a grown man. I have so much healing to do. I don't want to do it together, but he's not letting it happen. I think it should be over, but part of me wants to keep fighting for this. After everything, I just want this to work so bad. Could this possibly be salvageable? If not, how do I pick myself up enough to face that fact? Honestly, it sounds like it might be over. A relationship that's entirely on his terms is no relationship at all. It feels like he is taking you for granted. I'm glad he's beaten cancer, and you should be proud of everything you did to help him through that time. But maybe it's time for you to both split up so you can put that kind of energy in someone who'll respect you. This is honestly how I feel. I wish that person could be him, but I've spent so long all but, and sometimes even, begging him for the respect I really deserve. We're young, and I think I should realize that now and get out while we both have lots of time to heal. In the same breath, what if one day I'm 40 and single, and wish to God I'd stayed with my first husband, lol. Thanks for the support. I feel super lonely right now. No single 40-year-old has ever said, I should have stayed with my first husband. Trust me, I would have heard it by now if that was a thing. Good point. Nah, I've seen this happen to a close friend. All the bills were going from her salary and his was nowhere in the picture. End result was him defaulting on car loans and $70,000 plus debt on overseas travels, etc. Leave now and don't look back. This is what I'm scared of. He has been telling me we're paying off the credit card for months and is maxed out right now. I have no idea where all the money went, but I'm terrified. Yep, and another friend just ended a 13-year marriage. Same thing. He made her feel dumb and convinced her she's not smart enough to have access to her own money. He since crashed a few vehicles, and guess whose name the loan is in? Honestly, I deal with stuff like this as a career. I can't predict what's to come. You're so lucky you're young. Others wasted the best years of their lives. And please, when you get out, get a lawyer to find out where your money has been going. See, a lot of my coworkers and their friends are around 20 years older than me and getting divorced over things that are starting in my relationship now. I'm so scared he'll ruin my life. Edit. I got stoned 22 hours into replying to comments, so that's why I'm chatty. Thanks so very much to everyone who's helping me think through this. Tonight, I canceled our 2022 trip to Mexico. I think it's time to leave this relationship. But again, thank you so much to everyone who helped me realize that. I plan to update in a few days. I'll probably still need advice and I'll let you know how it's going. Now for the last update. I'm writing this from a relative's house. I told my husband that I wanted to separate nearly 2 weeks ago, then left the apartment on Monday. I feel like I've changed so much since my original posts, and a part of that is thanks to all the commenters here. I really appreciate everyone who shared their insights and experiences. I've realized that my now ex had a serious dependency on me. I don't think he realizes this, but he's been talking a lot about the childhood trauma he has surrounding his mom, who he cut out of his life. In my previous post, I mentioned how he told me that he thought our marriage was over. There were other things he said at a time that were really hurtful too. Now he tells me he said those things in a moment of misdirected anger. He was angry about his mom and took it out on me. He's been really nice the last few weeks, but there's also been some interactions where he's just been a-holish. It's been downright disappointing the way he reacts to me asking for help with things. I feel like he's maybe put a lot more thought into how he acts, but it's still so self-centered that he's not actually doing anything to help me. He asks me questions, but never has much to say. Until today when he asked if I had thought about how he's felt going through cancer, and if I meant my vows, and how was I just going to give up on us when he never has. Not gonna lie, guilt tripping has always been a boundary I've tried to maintain in our relationship. He doesn't do this, so I was pretty done after that. I mean, I already told him I will likely want to get divorced once we've been separated for a year, legal reasons. I told him I think we should have entirely separate lives, no commitment to each other. I said we could still talk if it was good for us. But after the fact that he came into the phone call with those questions written down ahead of time, and he told me he always fixes things and makes them right after he messes up, and has fixed his problems in the last month. That's why he's had 2 counseling sessions and got advice from 2 older brothers. I am so done. Like hurt, betrayed, turned off. I just want this to be over. I just know he's going to keep hurting me and I'm not letting it happen anymore. I took my rings off for good this morning. I don't think I can regret our marriage, but I won't regret walking away from it either. I feel terrible sometimes because I know the things he's been through, and because I wish I could have stayed married to my first love. And I hate that he's going through this too, but we've both been through so much. I think the difference is that I wanted to get through those things together, and he decided to go silent for most of our marriage. In the process, I got pushed away, hurt, and honestly feel a bit taken advantage of. I realize that, right now, he's someone who's going to continue to push me away and freeze me out. He wants another chance, after he burned chances for 6 months, and I'm not ashamed to admit. I can't do it. I won't, not after everything. This man took my love and life and looked the other way while I paid for it. I hope he sees it, and I hope he really heals and fixes his problems. I can't be there for it though, and he chose that even if indirectly. I'm in a limbo now, just starting to figure out what the next few weeks will look like. Guys, please help me by sharing your knowledge and wisdom and experience. I do have good support close to me, but I think we all know the unique value of r/relationship advice. And I'm not admitting it much, but I'm sad and scared. The last 2 posts made me feel less alone. Hang in there. You did what was right for you, and no one can or should down you for that. You are still a strong and amazing person. Cry if you need to. As you know, crying lets the emotions drain out of your eyes. Being scared is normal. It's a huge change. Take time for self-care and to learn who you are and who you want to become. I, for one, am proud of you. Keep being fantastic. Thank you so much. Just read through all your posts. My only advice is it's okay to stop moving forward in life. Just pause for a year, keep working your job, but also just try to have fun and figured out who you are without him. Back when I was 23, I went through a major career change and ended up working a dead-end job for a bit over a year. I have no regrets, and I'm thankful for that time because it let me just exist and figure out who I was and what I wanted from life. You're young enough that just taking a pause for a while may be very helpful. Good luck. I'm proud of you. I read all of your older posts before reading this one. I'm glad you finally chose yourself. Next time he guilt trips you, tell him he gave up first. That just because he had cancer, that doesn't give him the right to continually mistreat you after everything you've done for him. In my opinion, just serve him the divorce paper and tell family told you he wanted a divorce first. Oh, and don't forget to change your direct deposit and make sure he doesn't have access to your bank account. Make a new one if necessary. Well, OP, you did the right thing. My wife is seriously on your side too. Because before she met me, she became a caregiver for her boyfriend at a time, and it ruined her in a lot of ways. There were a lot of similarities between your experience and hers, minus the marriage part. Ultimately, I can't imagine being your boyfriend. Well, I've never struggled with cancer. I'm really struggling with the thought process here. You had his back the entire time, and that's how he responded. He could have faced it entirely alone, but he had you, and you were a freaking trooper. And at the end of it all, he says, I don't think I can do this anymore. Good lord.